and welcome. My name is Tori Peters. I am a teen entrepreneur and author of the book The Power of Words for Teens. So today I am talking about 6 fiction series I love. Now, as a child, I used to love to listen to my parents read to me, and then I listened to audiobooks almost 24/7. If you ask my little brother, it annoyed him so much because sometimes he just hated the readers. But I listened to these books 24/7, and part of that is the fact that when I was little, and I still am a bit dyslexic, so I don't read very quickly. I take about double the time that like a normal person would take to read, but there was the easy solution of audiobooks, and so as a child I loved stories and I listened to them all the time. It was almost practically an addiction, but I loved stories so much, so I just listened to so many, and that love of reading and stories has continued through the years. I am bringing you these 6 fiction series that I absolutely love. Alright, so number 1 is Narnia. So I went ahead and pulled the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe off the shelf. Some people say that the first book is The Magician's Nephew, and I sort of consider that the first book too, but since this is the first book that C.S. Lewis wrote in the series, I'm going to go ahead and show that one. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is about a girl who steps into a wardrobe while playing hide and seek and enters into an entirely new world and has an adventure there. And this is one of my favorite stories. My mom bought these for me when I was about 9 because she was tired of reading to me out loud and she needed to do some work. I think I was actually probably more like 3 or 6. Somehow I've managed to keep those CDs in relatively good condition. Some of them are not particularly playable, but that's alright. And now I have all the books in paperback, or I have The Magician's Nephew in like an illustrated version. But this is one of my all-time favorite series, which is why it's number 1. So if you get the chance to read any of C.S. Lewis's books, do it, because he is an amazing author and so cool. I absolutely just love his writing, and honestly, I wanted to be Lucy when I was a kid. So The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is probably number 1 favorite period. Number 2 is Peter and the Starcatchers. This is by Dave Barry and Ridley Pearson, and Peter and the Starcatchers is a new take on the Peter Pan story, and it's sort of a realistic take, as realistic as fiction can be, on a fairy tale. And okay, the fun fact, I believe it is Dave Barry, who is either the grandson or the great-grandson of the person who originally wrote Harry Potter, and the characters in this book are just so amazing, and like the story of this book is one of the coolest things ever, and it could possibly be real. Like, that's how amazing this book is. It takes you into the London of the past and takes you into fairy tale and a boy named Peter who suddenly is able to fly, and it explains how Peter became Peter Pan and how he made it to Neverland and how Neverland got its name and all of this crazy stuff. So if you get the chance and you find Peter and the Starcatchers, read it. There's an entire series and it's amazing. All of the books are amazing. I haven't found one that I don't like. So Peter and the Starcatchers is definitely an all-time favorite as well. Now we have this might be my favorite young adult fiction book, and it's Divergent by Veronica Roth. Now, this book is really, really good. I end up self-identifying with the main character, a lot throughout this book, and it's just really amazing if you are I think I read it when I was about 15, but even at the age of 19, like, this book is still one of my absolute favorites, and it's all about, like, learning to be brave or learning to be selfless, and the choices that this girl in the book has to make, and I just absolutely love the ideas in the book, and the factions and how she makes her decisions. And I feel like if you want to get to know me, you should read this book, because a lot of the things that she talks about are things that I personally identify with and the struggles that I have sort of dealt with. And so this book is like just I read the book and I was like, wow, this is me. You know, like, the main character's short, she has blonde hair, like, all this crazy stuff that's just like, obviously that could be like anyone, but at the same time I felt like it was me, and so that's one of the reasons why I just absolutely love this book right here. Number 4, The Looking Glass Wars. Now, this isn't a particularly common book, neither is Peter and the Starcatchers, but this is a really amazing book. This is a book about Alice and what happened after Alice went through Neverland the first time, and it's a new take on Alice in Wonderland, and I just love this. Honestly, I think this is one of the coolest books, like, coolest Alice in Wonderland reimagined versions. The pictures that you get from reading it in your mind are so amazing. They have such amazing descriptions of characters and what things look like, and this is one of the coolest things. This book is by Frank Beddor, Beddor, and honestly, this is one of the coolest books I have ever read, and it's a 3-part trilogy. It's called the Looking Glass War Trilogy, and it's really amazing. The only thing I don't like about it is that the Cheshire Cat is evil in the book, but other than that, like, this is honestly one of the coolest books I have ever read, and just the world itself is just amazing. It gives you such cool imaginary pictures. So if you get the chance, read The Looking Glass Wars by Frank Beddor. I don't think I'm saying it right, but that's okay. Number 5 is Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. Now, I don't actually have that book, but I do have this one, and it's by Rick Riordan. I normally just sort of end up buying whatever book I'm reading. I have read this one, but I haven't read the 5th one, and I was able to get this one and the 5th one for like $3 each, so I bought it, and so this is what I'm showing you. But it's by Rick Riordan. Nobody knows how to say his name, but he's an amazing author, and honestly, sometimes when you're reading the book, you're like, wow, these things are real, like, all this stuff, and so you kind of have to remind yourself, like, oh, I'm reading this shirt, though, that I made. But the things in this book seem so real and vivid when you're reading it that honestly it's like the most amazing thing, and in all honesty there's a pretty big crush on Percy on my part. But Percy Jackson is one of the coolest series I have read too, and they are so, like, the characters are so much fun to just watch them go through these adventures and watch them grow. Like, it starts off and Percy's like, I don't know, he's got to be like 12, and then as the books progress, you grow up with him. Like, I've grown up reading it as the books progressed, so then he got older sort of with me, and that's one of the coolest things ever. But you sort of see him grow and develop as a character along with all of his friends throughout the books. So the Percy Jackson series are honestly one of the coolest, and along with that, Rick Riordan has 2 other series which are really, really awesome, and so if you get the chance to read those as well, go find them. They can be on, there's this app called Audible, there's one called Overdrive, there's always the library, or you can buy the books, and honestly, all of these resources I'm sure they're on all of these resources. So read these books because they are amazing. So those are the Percy Jackson books. The first one is Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, and it talks about a kid who is half god, Greek god, and half human, and so he's a demigod. And it goes through, I've learned a lot of mythology reading these books, which is really cool, I think. So it's sort of historical fiction with a new take. So if you get the chance, read these books. They're really awesome. They're also hilarious. So that's cool. And the last one is Harry Potter. I believe the first one is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I can't find book 1. We've got it somewhere, but I can't show it to you because I don't know where it went. I'm just being honest here. But Harry Potter is one of the coolest fandoms and coolest series I've read, and I've got so much Harry Potter just fandom stuff. So I've got Harry's wand up above my bed, I've got Dumbledore's wand, I have a time turner, I have all of this fandom stuff from Harry Potter. And the coolest thing I think about Harry Potter is just the houses and how we've taken the houses from these books, and especially online, then there's sort of been a community created around these houses, and it's really cool. So if you haven't read Harry Potter yet, what's wrong with you? I get it if you're homeschooled and your parents are Christian and they don't want you to read it because they don't want you to believe in witchcraft or whatever, but I would like to point out that these are just fiction, and in all honesty, this magic isn't real. They're just really amazing stories and really cool, and if you haven't read Harry Potter, then you absolutely need to, because Harry Potter is the coolest thing in the entire world. So the first one is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and who is it by? J.K. Rowling. I feel really weird about forgetting that. Yeah, so Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. If you haven't read it yet, then you need to, because you're missing out big time. So those have been the 6 fiction series that are my favorite. These were just the first ones that popped out, and I was like, okay, that's it. That's the video. So if you haven't read any of them, you should totally go read them. I recommend them wholeheartedly to any age, any person. Honestly, all of those would be alright for both children and adults, and anyone in between. So definitely read them. These are really great books, so it's definitely worth your time, I promise. So if you haven't had a chance yet, subscribe down below, because I'm doing a series where every day for the next 80 days I will be uploading a video. So you don't want to miss out on that, and the way to not miss out on that is to subscribe. So yeah, until next time, have a great adventure today, and don't let your lights go out. Bye guys.